So I think this is the very first time in my entire rabbinate when my Devar Torah comes from Twitter. It's kind of perfect as we read about and celebrate the process of creation, for Twitter reminds us, A, that creation is an ongoing process with new manifestations all the time, and B, that humans are partners in creation. And C, I should add, that words are a key element in creation. However, none of these are my point for tonight. Here we are once again at the beginning of the story, at the beginning of Torah and at the beginning of the world. And at the beginning, it seems that the world is created in binaries: light and darkness, day and night, waters above and waters below, dry earth and sea, sun and moon, creatures of the sea and creatures of the sky, male and female. Each thing is created in relation to its opposite. Opposites are separated. Each thing is named, and then God sees that it is good. Some quotes as examples. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the water that separates water from water." God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of waters God called sea, and God saw that this was good. God made two great lights, the greater light to dominate the day and the lesser light to dominate the night, to separate light from darkness, and God saw that this was good. God created humanity in God's image. In the image of God, God created them, male and female, God created them. A great deal of Western thought has proceeded from this basic organizational structure of the world. Things exist in relation to their opposite. Once you have a concept, a next step is to identify its opposite, using the contrast to define each thing by what it is not. Either or, good or bad, 0 or 1, up or down, yes or no, in or out, me or you, us or them. The world can be understood in sets of two opposites. But of course, the world cannot be understood in sets of two opposites. The edges between the categories are never really edges. And what about all of creation that doesn't fit in either or? Here's where Twitter comes in. As a non-binary person, Michaela Nicole suggests on Twitter that the binaries of creation are not really binary. Regarding the distinction and separation between dark and light, night and day, they point to sunset and sunrise, dusk and dawn, which are part of every 24-hour cycle. Regarding the distinction and separation between dry land and water, they point to marshes, bogs, swamps, fens, wetlands. Beyond sun and moon, they note, the Torah itself adds stars right there in that verse, which we know should include things like black holes and supernovae, which are hundreds of times more massive than our sun, this writer points out. Along with moons, there are planets and asteroids and comets. Sun and moon are not a simple pair, nor are they opposites. Creatures of the sea versus winged birds of the sky, well, what about penguins? And puffins, and cormorants, and swans? The tweet ends with, it's a thread, ends with male versus female, which, like light and dark, day and night, dry land and water, sun and moon, creatures of the sea and creatures of the air, are categories that are real, but partial. Such categories describe two ends of a spectrum, or 2 points in a range, or 2 kinds among many. Not opposite, not all-encompassing. Almost every binary can be expanded and collapsed. On the point of gender binaries, this particular text is very intriguing, because Genesis 1:26 and 27, which is when we first meet humans, describe the singular human being created in the plural in possession of more than one gender. Here's the text. And God said, "Let us create Adam." I like to say Adam because it comes from the word Adama, which is earth. But okay, let us create Adam. And we could translate that as man, which people often do, or as humanity, or as a human. In our image, God says. After our likeness. Now this is God speaking, and note that God is in the plural. And God created Adam, this is the rest of the text, and God created Adam in his or its image. In the image of God, God created him or it. Male and female, God created them. Vayomer Elohim na'aseh Adam b'tzalmenu kidmutenu Elohim. Kidmutenu. Elohim, which is a singular name for God, has an im ending, which means it's in the plural. Vayomer, the verb says, is in the singular. It's a singular verb. Na'aseh, let us make, is first person plural. Adam is the singular noun. Betzalmenu kidmutenu, in our image, in our likeness, first person plural. The singular God contains multiplicities. The likeness of God is also multifaceted. The noun Adam, singular, the direct object oto, him, is in the singular masculine. Male and female, God created them, it says then. Zahar u'nekeva, I have here, God created them. So, still talking about the first human, one human, but the direct object has now become them. And the text is explicit that this human is created both male and female. Singular being, multiple genders, and also in the plural. So anyone who struggles with the pronoun they to refer to a singular person, I have stumbled before with that, know that this very thing is used to refer to the first human in the first chapter of the Torah. In case you think that a non-binary read of this text is a 2021 phenomenon, see Bereishit Rabbi, chapter 8, Midrash 1, probably composed in 300 to 500 of the Common Era. Said Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar, in the hour when the Holy One created the first human, God created him as an androgynos. As it is said, male and female, God created them. Said Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, in the hour when the Holy One created the first human, God created for him a double face, du partsufin, and sawed him and made him two backs, a back here and a back there. As it is said, back achor and before kedem, you formed me, in the Psalms. They objected to him, but it says he took one of his ribs, slaot, in chapter 2, to create Eve. And he said to them, it means one of his sides, sitrohi, just as you would say, and for the side, sela, of the tabernacle, mishkan. Unpacking that a little bit. We often tell the story that Eve was created from a rib of Adam. It's not the word rib, it's the word side that comes from the mishkan. Same word, when we created the tabernacle, the word side is used to describe it, which is not a rib. The tabernacle doesn't have a rib, it has sides. So Adam, the first human, was created both male and female, androgynous. And when it came to time to create Eve, God split Adam in half, making two backs and two fronts, calling one male and calling one female. But all of us come from that original human who was both. And we are all made of possibilities, gendered and otherwise. None of us are this or that. We all, in the words of Walt Whitman, contain multitudes. And every binary we encounter is real and not real. Real in that there is something to be learned from separation and contrast. Something to be learned from Ezer Kenagdo, the helpmeet that Eve was for Adam, the relationship and tension between two different subjects that push and pull and stretch each other. That, in reaction and contrast to the other, define boundaries and see themselves in relief, learning to love the space between, learning to love the differences, learning to love the tension itself in those differences. But that binary is also unreal, in that the roles we play in tension with another are just roles. And if we remove the contrast, there is also a blending, a blurring, an opening, an underlying and intrinsic unity, a spectrum of possibility that becomes born before us. As Michaela Nicole says, we see the author in Genesis give examples of the extremes that God creates. It doesn't exclude the possibility of more. And so we worship the God of more, the God of the marsh, the God of the penguin, the God of the sunrise, the God of the marsh, I said that already, the God of the supernovae, the God of the non-binary. Shabbat shalom.